Hello and welcome to episode 28 of a Disney Life podcast. My name is Rachel and I'm joined here by my co host, Missy. Hello, Missy.
Hey, Rachel, it's good to see you today. I'm so excited to hear about this trip of yours.
Good to see you. Yeah, so today we are discussing the second part of my trip report. The first part aired last week on my time at Universal Orlando Resort. Today I'll be talking about our time at Walt Disney World. And so I'll be detailing our days through there. We'll also be talking about our top 5 rides to ride at after sunset, which that's exciting because a lot of rides take on a different just feeling at that point. We also have a question about Starbucks in the park. So for all of you Starbucks fans, you'll want to listen to this. And Missy will be closing us out with a tip for the week. So without further ado, let's get right on into my trip report. So we stayed at Port Orleans Resort French Quarter from November 16th through the 22nd. On this trip, it was myself and my husband and our 3 children, and also my parents were joining us as well. So my dad left early because of work commitments that he had to get back to. So my mom stayed with us, but I did recall and request connecting rooms for us for the convenience of it and to see if one of my children wanted to stay over there with grandma and grandpa during this part of the trip too.
Sleepover,
Yeah.
sleepover.
And they did. They, typically jump at the chance to get their own bed than having to share one. So we did get our request for connecting rooms. We were in Building 6 of Port Orleans French Quarter. This is my first time having stayed here in, I don't know, probably 17 years, I would say. It's
Oh,
been a
wow.
while. Yeah.
Hey.
This was always one of my favorites growing up, but we just hadn't stayed here in a really long time. So this one's nice if you've never stayed there. This one has a huge following because it does have a very small footprint. You only have one bus stop as
It's
opposed
just
to
so easy to get around. It's
so
just
easy to get
so
around.
much smaller, more compact than the larger, sprawling other moderate
Yeah.
resorts. And there are 4 moderate resorts. There's French Quarter and then the sister resort, Port Orleans Riverside, and then Caribbean Beach and Coronado Springs, which are just so large and cover so much land. So it's so quaint at French
Mhm.
Quarter and so compact. I love it there as well. I don't often stay there simply because ever since the Skyliner opened, I've chosen to subject myself to hiking all over Caribbean Beach usually rather than the nice tiny little French Quarter, but I do absolutely understand the appeal there. And it's super cute at the holidays also when they decorate with some garland and trees and that kind of thing. So this time of year, I would imagine it's probably the cutest it gets all year, like
Yeah,
most resorts.
and the rooms have, gone undergone some light updates recently, so, we were able to have a room that had been recently refreshed, and it was very nice room. We really enjoyed it. Definitely could tell that it had been loved on more recently than the room at Cabana Bay where we stayed at Universal, so I was glad to see that. Uh, Beautiful rooms, and, when we got there on the 16th, we obviously got there way too late to do anything. No water park, free day for us, and, there's nothing we can do about that, but we knew that going into it, although I didn't tell my husband until we were driving over there that night because I'm sure he would have said, "Well, we should have stayed an extra night at Universal and taken advantage of this," but we did not. So, we checked in, got settled, went straight to bed, and then woke up on the morning of the 17th. This was an early start to Hollywood Studios for us. So, got there, arrived just before the official park opening time. So, we got there with the resort guest time and just check the app. We really didn't have much planned for the day except for I wanted to make sure that sometime during this trip I was able to ride Rock and Roller Coaster. Um,
Oh,
so it would be a
I
last
just
time.
feel so sad every time I think of it. Just every time
Yes.
I think of the refurbishment that's coming to Rock and Roller Coaster, it makes me sad. Of course, I'm happy for all of the memories over the years. I'm very eager to see what comes of it, but I feel like they gave us such a long heads up on this that every time I hear about it closing again, I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
it's happening because, I kind of put it out of mind. And I think I've had a few trips already that I have to ride it because it's going to be the last time. So coming up on my trip very soon here in December, it really will be my last time. And
Yes. Yeah.
or no, wait, we don't have a closing date on it yet, do we?
Oh,
We
I
have a
remember
dinosaur closing date
we
early
do.
February, but I don't think we have a closing. So it's possible when I'm there in February, that may be my
Mm,
one last time. I'm just
maybe.
going to keep being sad
Yeah,
and
or just
riding it
we're
all I
being
can.
positive.
Please tell me you actually wrote it, because if now you followed up with, "But I
Well,
didn't
we
get to."
did, not on this day, but we did. So anyways, we did, we definitely did.
No.
Yeah. But when we arrived, the first thing I did was check the wait times on the app, and Rise of the Resistance actually had a 25-minute wait posted. So I said, "Hey, let's go do this." I will also note, no lightning lanes for this trip except for Guardians of the Galaxy. I did
Okay.
not buy a multi-pass, nothing. So we were like, "Okay, let's see what we can do during this." So we decided, "Okay, well, let's knock out Rise." So we walked all the way over there, only to have cast members standing outside going, "The ride's down, the ride's down."
No, 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 no.
Yes, however, the app did not reflect that. So, obviously, I believe the cast members, but that was never reflected on the app. But since we were in that area, we decided to skip the area, and, we walked over instead to Toy Story Land and
Mhm.
rode Alien Swirling Saucers, which it's not, a huge attraction for us, but my daughter loves it. My oldest daughter loves it, so
Aw, that's so
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, so I was like, "Okay, well, let's do this for her." Also did Toy Story Midway Mania, knocked those out, in that time, used our time there. We did not do Slinky Dog on this trip at all, could not catch it at a low wait time, and after being at Universal and my girls not being able to ride on as many rides, I did not wanna say, "Hey, give us another hour, and then we'll go do some
For
things."
another coaster,
Yeah,
yeah. So that's nice. I love that you started the day off with them in mind and the
yeah.
rides that the whole family was able to do together.
Yes. So after that, we went kind of circled around again and went over where Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster are located. Rock and Roller Coaster at the time had a 20-minute wait, so we got in line for that. However, the queue was backed up all the way outside, and we
Oh,
stood there for about 5 minutes and did not move at all. So knew it was not going to be a 20-minute wait. My son, I think he had kind of been a little bit fatigued from waiting in line over the weekend, and he said, "Hey, is Tower of Terror long?" So I looked at that and it said 13-minute wait, which if it's
eh.
a 13-minute wait, it's a walk-on. So I said, "No, it's not." So he said, "Can we get out of line?" "Sure." So we went over and rode Tower of Terror, and then I went to my favorite Joffrey stand outside of Tower of Terror.
I'm aware of that from previous episodes. I still haven't made it there, but I am putting it on my list, if for no other reason than just to get a photo of myself at your
Yeah,
stand, Rachel, because you're the only person I know who loves that stand. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just kind of like off the beaten path and
it
nothing
is,
I've
yeah,
really
and
talked
that's
about
the reason why
before.
I love it. So, and I got a frozen cappuccino there, to which my husband tried it, and he ended up getting one later in the trip. There was a frozen cappuccino, I believe we found one either at Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom, but, he got one later on, he loved it there. But after that, we met up with my mom and the girls. Madeline, my oldest daughter, announced that Elsa was her favorite princess that
I
day.
mean, I have always loved her, but I particularly love her that day.
So, which up until a week before our trip, it was Mulan because Mulan was action-packed and a ninja, and so this was news to me. So my mom took the girls to the sing-along while we went over to the Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster area. And, the girls loved it, had a great time with that. So after that, we decided to meet for a light lunch at Backlot. We had early dinner reservations at Epcot that night, so we wanted to get an early lunch in. I actually had the kids' chicken ranch salad there. It was a grilled chicken salad, ranch dressing, some corn, things like that. It was very good and very filling. It was a good sized meal. I've said this several times before. Quick service meals, I like to order kids' meals a lot of times because they are a good portion. And then after that, we went on to Star Tours. Now Star Tours was also 40 inches, so I thought, "Are we gonna have the issue again that we had at Epic
Yeah. Did she
with
shrink
Meredith?"
since the weekend? Yeah. All
Can
right.
she stretch a little bit? We had no problems getting her onto 40-inch attractions at Walt Disney World, so, sometimes you will notice this at different things, their height requirements or just even how they measure children there. So, they had her stand under the sign and put her back up against it, kind of like standing at a doctor's office, and
Right.
really, as long as they could not see anything between her head and the sign, we were good to go on. So, she
Okay.
rode Star Tours, got
Sorry.
on with us.
Sorry for her that she wrote Star Tours.
She seemed to enjoy it. She didn't fuss.
Suddenly I have shrunken down. I am not tall
Yeah.
enough for Star.
And then after that, we decided my husband took my 2 other children back on Star Tours because that is Madeline's, I think, favorite ride at Walt Disney World is Star Tours.
Oh,
Yeah, she
I
absolutely loves it. And, And so instead, I went and walked around Echo Lake, checked out the decorations, and then we met over in front of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It was posted about a 40-minute wait. We walked on to
Wow.
the pre-show room. So definitely not a 40-minute wait. Yeah, really got on, got on, got on and off quickly, but then at that point, we knew we needed to head over to Epcot, so we took the Skyliner on there. I will also mention so I mentioned in the last episode we had a single stroller, which I rented from a company, and since we had our van, we were able to transport it with us easily and set up pickup time at Disney, even though we had a drop off at Universal. But it was really nice getting on the Skyliner with a single stroller. Have not done that yet, and we were just able to wheel it on. Did not have to get everything and
No.
everyone out and pack it up and juggle all of that. So that was nice. But we took the Skyliner because the kids enjoyed the Skyliner. But my husband and I had Geo 82 reservations
Ooh,
for an
cute.
early afternoon date for us. So we had that, got seated pretty quickly. We were seated along the windows and I enjoyed sitting there. However, they had the shades down. So, which I understood because the sun was coming right in
Mhm.
to the space at that point. We did not have that issue when we were there last in July.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember the sun being a problem at all.
Yeah. And it was a little overcast that day, that morning. So that's probably why. But so, even though we had a really nice view looking out, pictures looking out were not much of an option
Mhm.
because, you were just blinded by if you didn't have the screen down, but we ordered the charcuterie, and I ordered the Electron, he ordered a glass of wine, and we spent about 30 minutes there, enjoyed our time, and, my mom was gonna take the kids on Spaceship Earth because we figured, "Okay, it'll take about the same amount of time to enjoy ourselves there,"
Sure,
but
yeah.
yeah, Spaceship Earth was down, so she, ended up taking the other kids, the 2 older kids, letting them pick out a Magic Band Plus for the trip.
Oh.
Yeah, so grandma's treat, I was happy for that, and, then we met up, and after we met over actually at Beer Garden. My mom took the kids to Beer Garden for their Eat to the Beat package for dinner for that night, and that was a 350 reservation. Jordan and I had my husband and I, we had a reservation at Shikisai at the Japanese pavilion for our Eat to the Beat package reservation. We try to have sushi every vacation, find somewhere to have sushi, depending on where we're vacationing at.
Yeah, you don't wanna do that absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely everywhere, but in Florida, someplace that is surrounded by ocean, yes. So we had an Eat to the Beat package there. We were on the dining plan. We were trying to decide if we wanted to use our dining plan for this meal or not because we were gonna be short a credit or 2 depending on how many that we used over the trip. So we asked what was on for the dining plan. That's kind of hard to find online. So and it was basically a 4-course meal for the dining plan credit.
Wow.
Yeah, so we knew that this was a great value. It ended up I think it would have been about a value of about 60 something dollars a person, so kind of a buffet price at that point, but they had a very large selection that we chose from, and so you kinda had an appetizer and then kind of a second plate from that, and our second plate, we each ordered some nigiri sushi, and then he got some sushi rolls for his entree, and I ordered basically, kind of a sashimi bowl. It was a dragon bowl, it was spicy tuna over rice, and then we got each got a dessert from there. So we decided to use our credits, well worth it, and you do get a beverage with that too. During this time so our dinner reservation was at 4, we were probably set about 4:10 or so. By the time that we ordered, our meal came pretty quickly. It was close to 5 o'clock, and I could see out the window from where we were sitting, mom line up with the kids for the Eat to the Beat package. Our show was not until 6:45, and this was 5 o'clock that she was lining up.
Well,
The
go
line
mom. I fully support this because of what specific day this was.
Yeah, so now I also wanna mention too, as we were walking through World Showcase, so we met her over in the Germany pavilion to help her get the kids seated for their beer garden reservation, in which they did enjoy too, the kids really enjoyed the music with that, but we wanted to go and help her. My dad did not join us in the parks for that day, so, we went and helped her get seated before we went over to our own reservation, and then, the line was starting let's see. Over in the area where they kind of have the African hut set up, there's a drink stand, they have the drum stations over there. That was the line at
The
that
African
point.
outpost, right? I think they call
Yes,
that.
the African Outpost at 3:30 in the afternoon for the 6:45 show.
So to
Yes.
everybody's wondering, Rachel, what show is this we're speaking of?
So we went to go see John Stamos in concert, and he was playing with a little known band called the Beach Boys.
Also, the Beach Boys were there.
And so anyways, but they
Which we
had
predicted, I mean, months
yes,
ago. We've been
we
talking
did.
about this.
Yes.
We said the Beach Boys are going to be there. That's amazing. I would love to see the Beach
Mhm.
Boys. I never have, but I would not hesitate for a moment to see them if I was able. And then we said maybe John Stamos will be there. And then the first thing I looked for when the Candlelight Processional list was released this year was to see if he was on it. And when he wasn't on it, I said, "That's it, Rachel. He's not on the Candlelight Processional list because he is totally gonna be there with the Beach Boys." And boy, did Uncle Jesse come through for
He
you.
sure did, and he is a huge Disney fan, so that made more sense too, that yes, he would be there. But, either way, we did want to go see the Beach Boys even if he wasn't there, and having an Eat to Beat package just made sense for us, not having to line up at 3 o'clock and be that far out from the line and having a guaranteed seat, but we did line up early for that. My husband took the kids and, just took them to go walk around. World Showcase was extremely crowded that day, and this was a Monday, but this was also the very last day of the concert series, but he took the
And
kids
he
to
had
go.
been there the day before, so the
Yes,
secret
he
was
had been
out
there the
at
day
that
before,
point.
so we
Everybody
knew it so
knew.
we knew it was happening, but, the kids didn't need to wait in line that long. We had our tickets and everything, but what was interesting is that they started moving us down, and you could hear the show before us, obviously.
Because they do 3 shows, right? Is it 3 a night
I
that they
believe
do, like,
it's
candlelight?
yes, I do believe it's 3, and then there was an 8 o'clock show after us, but
Okay.
as they started moving us down, and we realized there are people in front of us. Okay, with our Eat to the Beat package, there are people in front of us who are lined up for the 8 p.m. show.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, "Come on, people, like, you have a guaranteed seat." Now so about 20 I guess about 30 minutes before the show started, they started letting us sit in. Now, we could have gone into the very first section and gotten seats, but with 3 kids, I decided, "Okay, let's sit on the first row of the second section." This was behind the handicap seating, so that way because I know my girls especially, they are gonna wanna get up and dance, and so this
Yes,
gave them plenty
absolutely,
of chances to
absolutely,
get
yes.
up and dance, get up and shake it, and not bother anybody around us, and that they could kind of, not run around, but just get up and move. So, had the show. It was a wonderful show. This is a greatest hits show. There wasn't a song that they played that I didn't know. Obviously, there's only, I think, 2 of the original members who are still around, but John Stamos is a great showman, but at the same time, they knew people were there to see him. The cheers that he got when he walked out on the stage, but he never took away from the experience from anybody else playing in the band. So, he was
He
featured
seems
a
like a
lot.
truly kind and gracious person who has repeatedly said, I mean, I've read his book. Well, I mean, I listened to the audiobook, but also, I mean, I own the hard cover or a hard copy of it as well. But he talks a lot about where he came from in that book, and he seems to truly appreciate how far he's come. He doesn't forget where he came from. And the fact that he loves Disney is just the icing on the cake. So I love all of the success that he's had and the good things that he does for the people within the Disney community. I think that we are right there in that zone of people who grew up with TGIF and Full House and, remember the House Meets the Mouse episode when they went to Disney
Mhm.
World back when like every sitcom on ABC seemed to make it there to Disney World at some point as their free advertising for their parks on their sitcoms. I miss those sitcoms like that. That
Yeah,
they're few and far between these days, and there are so many that I guess there are some you can stream, but they're not as family friendly as they used to be. They're not family oriented at
right.
all. Not only the main themes of shows overall, but the language and content of some of them
Mhm.
is just not for families. So I think that's why we're just so darn nostalgic for Uncle
Yeah,
Jesse because it's
yeah.
everything that he represented as the character he seems to be portraying in his real life as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, and it's we've talked about before, Full House is a show that we grew up with, and, it was my favorite show when I was a kid and watched it, from beginning to end, and so very much feel like this is your own part of your own family in a way,
Uh-huh.
and, just seeing over the years his love for Disney too, and it's like we're bonded, John Stamos.
We are bonded. Were you following his stories while you were there? So I was stalking him
I was
online
not.
while you
Yeah.
were there so I could let you know what was going on. And at one point, he was over at the Grand Floridian and he posted a picture of like the area near the marina, like down by the water where he was supposed to meet Aunt Becky for their lunch that I didn't Chip and Dale end up being there or something. He missed it. I don't know. But he posted
Was he
something.
proposing? He was proposing there, right? Wasn't that the thing? There was something he was trying to do because remember they were at Living with the Seas, and he was trying to propose there or something like that.
Danny was proposing in that episode.
Okay, that was it, but there was something that he was trying to do with her, I don't know, there was something.
He was supposed to show up to, like, have a romantic picnic with her or
Okay.
something, and then Chip and Dale ended up being there. I don't it's been
Yeah,
been a little bit since I've seen it. But anyway, he posted a picture there and it was like, "I went there with Aunt Becky once," or something
yeah,
along those lines. I don't remember the exact words. I'm like, "It's so cute." Like, you wonder how much does he really remember about recording? And, of course, the Grand Floridian is where the Kokomo video was recorded. The music video for the song Kokomo was recorded on the beaches of the Grand Floridian, which is right there in that same area where he was. So I just think it's so neat to see it all come full circle like that. But
yeah.
anyway, on with your trip report.
So but yes, it was a wonderful show. My kids really loved it, and every time that we would be driving leading up to this trip and Kokomo would come on the radio, I'd turn it up and be like, "We're gonna go see them," and they had a great time. Meredith got up and she boogied down and lived her best life to the music, and it's really funny because when music starts, you can just see it, like, it just clicks for her, and she just wiggles whatever out of whatever seat she's in, and she just lets go, and, but it was a lot of people in our generation who were there and a lot of people my parents' generation who were there to go and see them
Mhm,
and enjoy the show. So, fantastic show, fantastic performers. Whoever the man is who does a lot of the high note singing, the falsettos,
mhm,
fantastic voice. He sounded exactly like the original singer, so great night for that. Afterwards, the only lightning lanes that I bought were individual lightning lanes for Guardians of the Galaxy, bought them for the entire family. Madeline rode this for the first time last year and loved it, but my husband was not with us on our trip last year, so we kept for the whole year, we've been talking about, my husband telling her, "I can't wait to ride this with you. I can't wait to ride this with you." He loves being able to experience rides with the kids. So many of Meredith's first time riding things, he wanted to ride with her. He just loves having that experience with them. So he all year, "Can't wait to ride it, can't wait to ride it," and she would say the same thing. We get there and she does not wanna ride it.
oh, no.
And it was like, "But you loved it so much." So we talked her into it. We might have bribed her into going on it. It was
Okay,
like, "How much money
I
can we pay
support
you
that.
to do this?" Yeah, so, I think we got out
I
with an
once
ice
offered
cream.
my daughter a cell phone to ride the Skyliner. She was so terrified of the Skyliner. She didn't realize at the time that we had been planning to get her own cell phone
Yeah,
very soon anyway, but I totally put that out there. I'm like, "If you will get on that with me, when we get home, we will get your own cell phone." And we did. We came through with it and,
yeah,
it worked for her. And she absolutely loves the Skyliner now. So sometimes they don't know what's good for them. We
right.
know. We know.
Yes.
Mother knows best.
Yes, of course, absolutely. So, my husband and myself, my 2 older kids, we got on it together the first time, and we got the song, "I Ran" by a Flock of Seagulls, which
Mhm.
probably my least favorite of the songs
Yeah,
for
it's
the
not at the top. I
auction.
mean, I'd probably rather that than Conga, but yeah.
I don't get it, I don't get it. Anyway, so after that we did end up even with the Lightning Lane, we did end up with Child Swap, but, Madeline really wanted to ride again, and they let her go on again, so Lincoln and I and Madeline, so she loved it, so she no tears after that point, I just had to
Very good.
agree to hold my arm out so she could hold it, so at that point, we got Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, and, I love that song, and I really thought, "This is not going to fit in this ride," but it makes me feel like I'm in a Brat Pack movie every time that it comes on this ride. Like, I'm at
I think it may be my favorite. It's very close
okay.
between that and September, but I think
Yeah.
Everybody Wants to Rule the World is my favorite. Don't tell our friend Katie who just, September is her song
Yes.
and she would
Yeah.
be sad for that to not be my favorite. But I do like them both very much, but I think Everybody Wants to Rule the World is my favorite there.
Yeah. So, my mom and husband and my youngest Meredith, they went over to, the Seas with Nemo and Friends and rode that and went through the aquarium together while we were on that. So, by that point, the park was closing down, it was time for us to leave, so we had a very full and productive first day. Did not
Mhm.
do a whole lot at Epcot except for eat and watch a concert, but that's okay. We had a great time, and
Sounds
I
like an
highly
amazing day to me,
yeah,
actually.
well, and, I highly recommend the dining packages. If you have any idea or hope to go and see these shows, you definitely need ones. Went to bed, got up early the next morning, November the 18th, because it was Meredith's 3rd birthday.
She's so old now.
Yeah, so
Also, she I don't know, she's such a cutie, and I can't believe all the rides that she has done still
yeah,
as a 2-year-old. Like,
yes.
that was so crazy.
Yeah. She is very tall for her age. I think she was in the 95th percentile during our last well visits.
Mm.
She's very tall for her age, but she turned 3 on that day. And actually, of all things, Jordan got stopped at the ticket kiosk, and we had to go back over there, and they were like, "Who where's the ticket for this one?" And, I and they were cast members were super nice about it, and he was like, "There's an issue with the ticket," and I said, "Well, there shouldn't be," and he said, "Well, how old is she?" And he's like, "Well, technically she's 3 today, but we checked in 2 days ago because, you are whatever age you are at check-in," and he was like, "Yeah," he was like, "But where are you staying?" And I said, "French Quarter," and he's like, "Oh, because so you know." I said, "Oh, I know." So, they let us on through, and that wasn't an issue. Cast members will ask, but be nice, and it's not an issue whatsoever. But we had a capture the moment session first thing in the morning at the Magic Kingdom for her birthday. So we went and took pictures around the castle. The sun was at a horrible spot. So we only got 2 pictures in front of the castle before we moved over to one of the sides where they have kind of the pillars out now that's
Uh-huh.
shaded, and took some pictures over there, and then took some pictures in the grassy hub area, and they had a little sign for her that says, "It's my 3rd birthday,"
Oh,
which she yes, which she then rearranged for them, and we took another picture with that. Have some cute photos with the kids, got a photo with the grandparents and, of all of us, and then in the hub, as you know, I always have the pictures of them with their mouse ears on. So this time I let the professional photographer take those, and, so they got those pictures for us. So,
perfect. I love that
yeah.
you do those photos every trip. That's
Yes, yeah. So
awesome.
and they turned out wonderfully and, had a great time and had a really, really cute pictures of Meredith kinda peeking out from behind a pillar. She got more playful as the session went on and her personality came out. So I highly recommend those with Memory Maker. You do have to pay for the photo session still, but you do get to get your photos downloaded for free as part of your Memory Maker. So highly recommend doing that if you have a family trip coming up. Great, great option there. So after that, which we had the kids kinda dress up that morning, change of clothes, super easy to do when you have a stroller, have everything thrown in underneath in a bag. Went on Space Mountain, which was a walk-on, Astro Orbiter and the People Mover. I was surprised my son had never done Astro Orbiter before, so we did that and got all 3 of those things done probably within 40 minutes of each other. So
Wow.
yeah, very fast morning there. Then, my Seven Dwarfs Mine Train had a very low wait time. I think it was posted about 30 minutes, and this was 10 o'clock in the morning at this
Oh,
point. Park had
wow.
been open an hour, yeah. This was a party night, I will mention that. There was a party going on that night. So, he really wanted to go ride it. My dad said that he would take him to go ride it while, my mom and I took the girls on Voyage of the Little Mermaid and Small World. So we got done really close to the same time, and my son, of all things, wanted to have lunch at Cosmic Rays. That was
Is
his
that like
response.
a Sunny Eclipse thing? Like,
Yeah,
did
where
he wanna
Sunny
see
Eclipse
him
is
or was it
located. Yeah,
okay,
well, and I don't even know if that was why. We sat in the same
right.
room, we could hear Sunny, but he wanted to sit actually, what he liked about it, he said that was one of his favorites, and I know why now. He likes to sit by the window and look at the castle while he eats.
Okay. Well, wow. I'll give him that then.
Yeah,
So he
so,
I thought
that
maybe he
is
wanted the Sunny Eclipse concert
no,
is why he wanted to be there, but it was the castle
no.
view.
It was a
Okay.
castle view, so I'll give him that. That was a nice one. So we, sat there, had lunch. During that time, right after our photo session, my husband had to leave. He has a side project commitment he needed to get to be in a quiet space to be able to get some things done for that. It was a live stream that was going on at that time. So, he actually went and to Disney Springs so he could get to Earl of Sandwich and do what he needed to do. But it served a good purpose because my mom ordered a celebration cake from Amorette's for Meredith's birthday. So he was able to go and pick it up during that time. And after his meeting, he drove to the Contemporary and talked to Bell Services. They held the cake there for us, and because it had to need to be refrigerated, so they held the cake there for us. And then he drove over to the Ticket and Transportation Center and met us back not long after lunch. So it all worked out very well. But then we went back over to Space Mountain on that, and once he joined us, and actually went on Tron again. No lightning lane. This was early afternoon. Tron probably took us about 30 minutes to get through the line. So,
Not too bad, not too
no,
bad.
not too bad at all. We were making great time. My husband, this is where at the Joffrey stand outside of Space Mountain, he got the cappuccino, frozen cappuccino there and a large donut. He and the kids split the large donut and then they went on the teacups. So,
Wow, that's a choice.
it was a choice. Everybody made it. So, and it was fine until towards the end, I saw him take control of the wheel and start spinning them really fast. And he got off and I said, "What were you thinking?" And he said, "They asked me to." So, and I set out not because I was afraid of feeling motion sick or anything like that, but it's just it was a long day and I wanted to be there. Keep the 3-year-old at that point occupied. So
Yeah.
the day was winding down, and we wanted to get some things done before the park opened to guests who were there for the party, which would have been 4 p.m. And at that point, crowds do pick up quite a bit. So Jingle Cruise had already started, so we decided, let's go get in line for Jingle Cruise. That was our longest wait of the day at 45 minutes. But we went on Jingle Cruise and then we walked on to Pirates from there. And at that point, we decided, we have a dinner reservation that night, so let's start heading towards the park entrance. Main Street was getting more crowded with party guests coming in. And we went over, took the monorail over to the Contemporary and had dinner at Chef Mickey's for my daughter's birthday.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yes,
Very sweet.
and this was for a couple reasons. She loves Mickey and Minnie, obviously. They share a birthday. Mickey and Minnie share a birthday with Meredith, so November 18th is also Mickey and Minnie's birthday, so she had our birthday button on and everything like that, and we said that we
That's
were
very
celebrating.
sweet.
Yes, they knew, like, I was very glad that Mickey and Minnie also remembered that it was their birthdays too. So,
Mhm.
but the highlight for her was seeing Pluto. Pluto is her absolute favorite character. In fact, she has a stuffed Pluto that went everywhere with us the entire trip. Pluto got to ride on several rides too and went to every meal. And so Pluto was the highlight. And then we had the Pluto celebration cake there. One thing I will mention about the celebration cakes, which was interesting, the restaurant will not hold the cake for you. So even though it needed to be refrigerated, they would not hold it in the refrigerated section for us. And they said it was for health code concerns, which I guess I can understand. You don't want anybody bringing anything into there. And they also could not take it back and cut it for us. They brought out plates and something for us to cut it with, but, they let us know off the bat that we had to do that ourselves. So, it was fine, it worked out fine, but something if you're trying to get that done, like in our instance when we needed to refrigerate the cake, go by Bell Services and ask to use their refrigerated services there. That wasn't a problem at all. So, that was our second day. Had an early night getting back in, which was nice. I think after the long weekend and all the busyness from everything else, having an early night was a great idea.
Mhm.
And the next morning was a Wednesday morning. We decided, okay, let's sleep in a little bit, whatever that means with Disney. We were going to Animal Kingdom for that day. So we arrived at Animal Kingdom around 9 a.m., went straight over to Flight of Passage while my mom took the girls over to Navi River Journey. We actually both finished around the same time. Flight of Passage, probably about a 20-minute wait, and the park had been open for an
Oh,
hour
wow.
at that point. Yeah, so we were hitting these things. Great timing. Magic Kingdom was not having a party that day, so I was kind of hoping that meant other parks would be less crowded. And after that, we went on the safari and the Gorilla Falls trails. We went through that. I thought I was going to have to stay in my least favorite part, which is the bird area, all day long because not because of the birds, but because Meredith loved the fishes. She wanted to see the fishies. And you
I
have
know
those areas
exactly where
going.
you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know, I can picture it.
So I'm standing there like this with my head covered, watching the fishies with her, and while Jordan took the others and they went around, which is fine because it takes them longer. They like to look more closely at the animals, but also the kids had their Wilderness Explorers books, and they
Mm.
were trying to fill those out too. So after that, we had lunch at Yak and Yeti, which this was a first for us. I had never done the Yak and Yeti sit-down restaurant. In fact, the night before, I almost canceled our lunch reservation just to
Oh.
save time. But over at the lounge at Port Orleans French Quarter, my husband and I went over to the lounge that evening. Again, having connecting rooms with the grandparents is great because we were able to go out to the lounge that night, and the bartender there also worked at Yak and Yeti, so he was telling us about Yak and Yeti, had some dishes he recommended for us, so we got those dishes. It was the ahi tuna nachos and the dragon roll bowl.
Oh, those both sound like things that you and your husband would like.
Yes, and they were delicious, especially I really liked the ahi tuna nachos, those were excellent. The dragon roll bowl was huge, that was very good. There was a lot of things covered in sauce that, I kinda wish hadn't been, but they said no substitutions on that, and I understand why, I think it was pre-made, but, that was more than enough food that we could have shared between us, but we did not. So, and then, we had the mango pie and pineapple upside down cake for dessert. Mango pie was delicious. I know a lot of people love that one, and I can see for good reason, but anyways, after the meal, Jordan said, "Well, this is going to be a new staple for us. We are
Oh,
coming back
wow.
here." Yeah,
Okay.
so that was well worth it. So if you've never been to Yak and Yeti, I highly recommend it at this point. Had a great menu. It's owned by Landry's. So if you have a Landry's card, which you can get into T-Rex, Rainforest Cafe, it's easy to get into there from there, but it was also on the dining plan, so it was well worth it for us. At this point, we head over to Expedition Everest. Could not talk Madeline onto that one, which was fine, but, Lincoln had his Wilderness Explorer book and a pencil with him the entire time, filling out the challenges, trying to measure things, trying to do what he called scientific experiments on everything.
That's
But
amazing. I love that.
yes. Yeah, so I love that about him, but when we got on Everest, it was an absolute walk on. We did not stop until we got to the part where we to the loading area. So,
Oh, wow.
this was nice, yeah. And then we went over to Dinosaur, met over at Dinosaur, took 2 trips on to say goodbye. Actually, Dinosaur was the one attraction we could not get Meredith on at 40 inches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, we did a
It's just
child swap.
so crazy how they are all measuring the same thing and
Yes.
some
Yeah.
make it and some don't. That's just
And at Disney, this was interesting too. At Walt Disney World, we were always given the line, she's good to go here at the first one, but the last cast member has the final say. So they always gave us that disclaimer that somebody else has the final say, which we did not get at Universal, which I think aggravated my husband at Mario Kart that we can get through this checkpoint and this checkpoint, but somebody
right.
else is going to tell us no. So Disney did make sure to say, it's okay here, but the next person has the final say.
I don't know if I
So
let or not because I feel like you're wasting your time and why even have somebody stand there if it may not be accurate.
and I guess that's true
That
too, and I
that could
also
be
wonder.
frustrating, especially if it's a ride a
Yeah,
kid really wants to ride.
right, and I will say for her, which she loves dinosaurs, we did not hype anything up for her other than what we had in our own mind, so and,
Mhm.
thinking back on it, it's probably a great idea she did not ride Dinosaur, it might have been a little bit too jerky
It
for
is
her.
rough. It's a rough
It is
ride.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
So, that worked out just fine. We just let her go and look around at the dinosaurs anyways, which she enjoyed doing. But then my daughter wanted to go see Festival of the Lion King, and so we went over there to go catch the last show of that. At this point, Meredith was asleep in the stroller, so I decided to stay out with her instead of going to the show. Nothing against the show; it's a fantastic show, but it was one of those things that's like, okay, I can actually have about 30 minutes of quiet time with her
Yeah.
asleep.
And you would have
And,
had to take her out of the stroller too. You couldn't just roll a
yes,
stroller in there and let her sleep, so
right. So that was fine. I actually went over to the Dawa bar right beside there and got something. So
atta girl.
maybe that was my motive in the whole thing, who knows? But, after that, we went to the new Zootopia show. My kids love the first movie. We have not seen the second yet. We do plan to go to
Mhm.
the theaters to let them go see it, but they all day long, "When are we gonna see Zootopia? When do we see Zootopia? When do we see
Aw.
Zootopia?" So, that was the last thing that we did for the day. Now, this show, it was pretty much we were in the very next show from after the queue that we got into. There was no wait for us. In fact, there really hasn't, other than opening day, been a wait. I've been checking wait times.
Mhm.
Maybe a 10 or 20-minute wait posted, but it takes that long sometimes to even walk through the queue at times. But the kids loved it. All the kids in the theater loved it. There was a lot of laughter during it. They kept in the effect, if you remember from It's Tough to Be a Bug at the end, where they ask you to stay seated and they have all the bugs crawl out
Underneath you? Yes.
underneath you.
I do
Um,
recall that.
Okay, spoiler alert, that effect is kept into the show in the middle of it, and so, but there was no really very scary elements where It's Tough to Be a Bug had a lot of scary elements in there.
Mm.
Is it something I say once my kids grow out of this kind of Zootopia phase that they'll want to go back to every time? No, It's Tough to Be a Bug was a better show, but they loved it for this time in this season of their life, so and it took us no wait. It wasn't, something that we had to wait 2 hours for. It wasn't a Hagrid's experience there, but, it was cute. It was a cute show. Tough to Be a Bug was a lot better. So,
Well, I
I will
appreciate that it's not scary. There were
yeah.
some elements of It's Tough to Be a Bug. It was actually one ride that we learned they'll come along with flashlights and a cast member will help escort you out in the middle of a show if your small child starts screaming, because that did happen to us at one point. So I appreciate that it's not frightening, and I think it's a great option to have a show like they have a couple shows in the park. There's Nemo show, the Lion King show you mentioned,
Mhm.
and there's this Good Places to Be out of the weather, whatever the weather may be that day, have a seat for a while, take a break. So I certainly appreciate that. And really, no matter what show is in there, I love when the park icons include a ride. So
Yeah.
I love, you can go inside Spaceship Earth, you can go inside the Tree of
Mhm.
Life. So
Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah, so
it's something I can relate to at least, and it's something
yeah.
relevant to that the kids understand. Because for as cute as Flick is, and I loved It's Tough to Be a Bug, it's really just like kids don't know what it is anymore, unfortunately.
Right,
I'm assuming it's on
absolutely.
Disney Plus and everyone should watch it, but
Yes.
it didn't have that popularity. So
Right. And so at that point, now we drove to Animal Kingdom that day because we knew after we were finished at Animal Kingdom, we wanted to head back over to Hollywood Studios and finish up some things there since we only had a morning there of our trip. So my mom actually said, "Hey," when we got back in the car, she said, "I'm not too interested in doing anything at Hollywood Studios. Why don't you drop me and Meredith back off at the hotel? We'll get dinner in the quick service location. I'll let her get rested." So we did that. So the 4 of us then ventured off and drove over to Hollywood Studios. Again, staying on property and having our own vehicle, even though we could have taken bus transportation, we knew trying to get from one part to the other, we wanted to go as quickly as possible. So we chose to drive that day. But as we were going through Hollywood Studios, as you're walking through the main parts, I love the we've talked a lot of times about the Christmas decorations at Hollywood Studios. I love the window displays at Christmas time, especially
Mhm.
the Minnie Mouse ornaments, that the kick line of
Yep.
those. But I noticed in one of the windows, there are some old props from the Great Movie Ride being used as a
Oh.
candy cane window display. Yes, the showgirls from the first scene in the Great Movie Ride, when you go into Singing in the Rain part and, they had all
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
showgirls, so you'll need to look for this, Missy, as you're going down.
I'm actually writing it down right now
Yeah.
so I don't forget.
As you are heading down towards Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, keep looking to the left. It is right, where you can cut across that sidewalk and head towards the Indiana Jones show. There's
Yes.
like a cutout there between the stores. It's one of those windows there. And it's the showgirls, and they're in candy cane outfits
Before the
now.
cutout or after the cutout?
I think it's right before the cutout. I think the
Okay.
window right before you get to the cutout,
Okay.
and then you have that other shop, and then it opens up into that central hub
Great.
area. But
Okay.
and the first time I noticed it was during the day, and I took a picture, but it was such a horrible glare, and there was a VIP tour going on, and they kind of I was skirting around them. They were standing right in front of the window, and I was skirting around them to go and see what they were, and they kinda stopped and said something to me, and I said, "Is this VI" I asked the tour guide, I said, "Is this a prop from the Great Movie Ride?" And she said, "No one is confirming or denying this." So I said, "Okay, it is. That's all I need to know." So, anyways, but when we got there, I saw that, took a better picture of it, so I will get that posted onto our socials. But Rise of Resistance had a short wait, so we went and did that. We waited probably 20 minutes for Rise. All 4 of us were able to do that together. That was really nice. And then went over, and the kids asked after that, they said, "Hey, what's the ride that we can do where, you can fly the plane or you can shoot the things too?" And so I was like, "Okay, they're talking about the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run." So did that. We let the kids be pilots, and let's just say I don't know how we survived. So they are not driving anytime soon. But after that, I said, okay, the park was closing at 9. It was, I think, 8 o'clock at that point, 8:15. And I said, we were trying to figure out what to do. Madeline really wanted to go back on Star Tours. And I said, that's fine. I am riding Rock and Roller Coaster. Like
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
I don't care. That if we can fit Star Tours in, we can fit Star Tours in. I am riding Rock and Roller Coaster. So my husband said, "Hey, you go ride Rock and Roller Coaster. That means a lot more to you. I'll take her on Star Tours, so that way we can get it done." So Lincoln said, "Well, I'd like to ride both." And I said, "Well, this is the last time that we'll ever be able to ride Rock and Roller Coaster." He said, "Well, I'm going with you." So we got in line. Probably waited 20 minutes there as well too. But during that time, Jordan and Madeline got to ride Star Tours twice. Actually ran into a couple that we know in line, rode the same one with them too. I think they rode beside each other. But
Oh,
yeah, I got to ride Rock and Roller Coaster. The park closing was quickly coming in, so I ordered Lincoln. Jordan and Madeline went and had a few snacks for dinner together. And so for Lincoln, I grabbed him a kid's pizza on mobile order and did the last possible pickup window for that. So, and we had discussed Fantasmic that night was actually 30 minutes after park official closing. So we had discussed staying around for that night to go and see it. But they were all pretty tired. And it was one of the things that's like, okay, let's just head back to the resort. So we decided to do that instead. It was nice having a car and just being able to drive and leave.
mhm.
And the next day was a Thursday, and that was our actual rest day. And I say rest loosely. We've talked about plans that we had for the rest day, but we had breakfast that morning at 9:45 at Ohana. It's been a long time since I've done breakfast here. We used to do breakfast there every single trip. And I know, Missy, this was probably before you ever started taking trips there. It used to be called Minnie's Minahuna Breakfast, and it was a character buffet with Minnie and Pluto, and I think Chip and Dale were there too. But Minnie was like in a Polynesian dress and super cute. But we did this because my oldest daughter loves Stitch. So when you have my son being able to do so much at Universal, my youngest daughter celebrating her actual birthday at the Magic Kingdom, we wanted to make sure
The
Madeline,
middle child needed
middle
something.
child,
Yeah.
middle
I am
child
also the middle
had
child,
some.
so I am
Okay.
right there with
Yeah.
her. Yep.
So we kept saying, okay, we've got a surprise for you on our rest day. We've got a surprise for you on our rest day. So we get to breakfast and we sit down and she sees Stitch in the corner. I said, surprise. We wanted to go have breakfast with Stitch. Well, it didn't go over as well as we thought.
Oh,
I don't know
no.
what she hyped in her head, but we said, okay. And she had talked about some things that she wanted. We let the kids earn money for the trip. They had to do some things to earn some spending money. And of course, she loves to go shopping and she wanted a lot more things than what, she had enough money for. So I hated to see her get teary eyed. I don't know what she built up in her head for this. So I said, okay,
She
let's
thought she
enjoy
was
the
staying in the
breakfast.
Castle Dream Suite, maybe.
I get that would be my surprise, right? So, we kind of said, hey, okay, let's enjoy this. You get to have breakfast with Stitch and Lilo, two characters that you love and greatly. Let's find something else within reason that you want to purchase, and we'll get that for you. Yeah. And we did. And it ended up being another lightsaber. We have quite the plastic lightsabers, not the super expensive ones. We have enough lightsabers to have 5 friends over and have a lightsaber battle at this point, but, that's what it ended up being later on, but had breakfast at Ohana. I'm not a huge breakfast eater. My son's not a huge breakfast eater, but he discovered he loved Pog juice, which he has
Okay.
asked for several
Oh,
times since then, so, if I could go out and find some Pog juice, so but he ate plenty of ham in that. Meredith got to see Pluto again, so she was happy, and, Madeline got to have Stitch waffles with whipped cream. The, cast member who was our server found whipped cream for us, and so she was happy
that's
by the end of
sweet.
it. Yes. At that point, we actually took the boat over to Wilderness Lodge from the Magic Kingdom. We took the monorail over to the Magic Kingdom, then took the boat over to the Wilderness Lodge. I was really sad the tree was not up. At this point, it's November 20th and the tree was still not up. So I was
That is
sad for that.
it's a lot of sadness. Yes.
That is a whole lot of
Because
sadness.
I think you actually missed it by one day. I think it
I
went up
think
the
yes,
night that
I
you
think
were
so
there.
too. I know that we missed Animal Kingdom Lodge by 1 day. Spoiler alert, that's coming up tonight. But I did wanna go, so Jordan said, "Hey, I wanna get you something." When we went to the Japanese restaurant, we actually celebrated my birthday. We had kinda done a delayed celebration. We've just had crazy schedules, and so this date was just to go out and do that. He said, "I wanna get something for you. I want you to pick out something that you want." Well, a lot of the deluxe resorts have these spa type robes now. Have you seen those in the gift
I
shops?
have. Yes, I
Okay.
have.
So I've had my eye on one of those for a while. And so I decided, well, what resort do I want branded on this? And I decided Wilderness Lodge. So I did at least go and get my new spa robe that has been very nice for cold winter mornings here, taking the dog out to go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
And so from there, we took the bus over to Disney Springs, went to the Lego store, World of Disney, had lunch at Earl of Sandwich, and staying at Port Orleans, it was very nice being able to take the boat back
Uh-huh.
to our resort, where we spent 2 hours in the afternoon swimming that day. So we did
That's my
do one of
kind of
Missy's
rest
favorite
day.
activities and, could not get the 2 older kids off the water slide, and they loved that so much. Meredith, played in the splash area. There's a smaller slide there that she just kept going on and on and on.
Mhm.
Had a great time. I left early. My mom was at the pool with us too, but I left a little bit early. Once I my shoulders were out of the water and I was getting chilly from here up, I decided it's time for me to go in and go shower. So,
Well, they do have a
which
hot tub there. I mean, you could have done that.
they do, but it's kinda hard when you have kids running around, so
That's
I
true.
decided, okay, yeah, so we had dinner reservations that night at Bowman, so I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna go and get a shower first, and then that way, by the time the kids are in, I can help be getting them
Get
ready,
them
and I
cleaned
don't
up
have to
and
worry about
ready.
myself." Yeah, so, that night we had dinner at Bowman, my top buffet, if you remember from a previous episode,
I
and I had
remember.
so much soup, Missy.
Was it corn soup? Because
It was
everything
not
there
corn
has
soup.
corn.
It was a butternut squash soup,
Okay,
which was
that sounds
amazing.
delicious.
Yeah, and it had cinnamon in it too. So, it was wonderful. No tree, no gingerbread display. We missed the gingerbread display by a day. I do know that it was coming up the next day afterwards, but, we still had a great dinner over there. But I did have they had a toasted corn cheesecake.
That sounds interesting.
So I got that because I thought this is interesting, and it was really more like a caramel corn cheesecake.
Okay.
So, it tasted good. So it did taste good. It kind of had a more of a marshmallowy consistency, I would say, than a cheesecake consistency, but the flavor of it was like a caramel corn, so it was a corn dish for you.
There you go. There's
There
everything there's corn. I'm telling you, there was probably corn in your soup. You just don't know it.
there probably was. It was cinnamon flavored, so I
They just
couldn't tell.
pureed it and added some cinnamon so they can disguise it like as a pumpkin pie-ish soup, but really there's corn in there.
So, the next day, that was the next day was a Friday, November the 21st. This is our last day at the parks. This morning, we had our morning at Magic Kingdom, another party day, so we were also hoping for low crowds. If you noticed, we have not done any evening shows, fireworks, anything like that. With small children, not the top of our priority list at the time for the time being. Their rest is more of our priority. So, had the morning at Magic Kingdom where our very first thing at park opening was going by Harmony Barbershop and Meredith getting her very first haircut there.
Another sweet thing for her. So
I
so she
know.
got the birthday and the haircut. I'm kind of feeling
Yes.
sad for Madeline. Maybe Madeline thought she was gonna be princess for the day, like Michelle
Well,
Tanner. Like, do we have a
yeah, that's
Stephanie
true.
and Michelle
Yeah.
situation going on here?
Maybe that should have been her surprise. Which we did not, even though both girls are now eligible for Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, we did not do that this trip because, you don't know how a 3-year-old is gonna react to that sometimes. So I decided
Mhm.
I don't want to just go into a meltdown mode. But all 3 of my children have now had a first haircut at Harmony Barbershop. So,
I love it.
yes, so that was special for her. She did excellent, and I was really kind of worried how was she gonna react to this because I had probably 4 inches cut off of her hair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was getting very long. I had it cut to just below her shoulders. So, I was thinking I would cry because she is my only baby that had baby curls. And as her hair has grown longer, I've realized, no, it's not baby curls. She has curly
She
hair,
has curly hair.
and
Yeah.
she has curly hair, except for the front. The front part is entirely stick straight, but the whole back up to the root has curl in it. So, even knowing that this was going to be her first haircut, I have mentally prepared myself for the last 3 years thinking the curls are gonna be gone, but they will save a curl for me, but the curls are still there, I'm so glad to say. But she did excellent, she did wonderful. Posed for some photos there. It is a excellent it was $28 to be able to do that, get a memento, get a lock of it saved. They give you a certificate, and they give you a hat, Alcyor's hat that says "My First Haircut." So that is an excellent value for
It
something at
really
Walt
is
Disney
for
World
$28. Yes.
for $28,
Fantastic.
and they take great care of you there. So I highly recommend an experience like that. So, got finished with that, and then we went over back to Tomorrowland where, while we were finishing up the haircut, so my husband and Lincoln, were there for the majority of the haircut, but as they were kinda just putting on the final touches after we got our photograph and they were just getting everything and her cleaned up and I was paying, they decided to go check the line for Tron. Tron was outside at that point and they weren't moving. So my son was like, "Hey, Dad, take me on Space Mountain." So they did. They walked onto Space Mountain instead. And so we got finished up and then met them over at Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, which I love Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor. And I think that's one of your
So
favorites there too.
underrated, isn't it? I don't
Yeah.
like you don't really hear a whole lot about it. I hope it's something because of
Yeah.
where it's located, like people kind of stumble
Mhm.
across it and will experience, but it really is so funny. You forget until you get back in there how funny it really is.
Yes. And every show is so different and unpredictable because they are choosing audience members. So every single time it's very different. But Madeline was chosen. So that was something extremely special for her. We've never had a family member chosen before. She got chosen. And she got chosen at the last segment where you have Mike Wazowski's nephew talking to the audience. So she was the kid who was chosen for that. And she got to tell a joke on screen for everybody. And she had a joke ready to go. And,
So did
it
she
was
know
actually
going in there that it was a possibility, or did she just happen to have a joke that she knew to tell?
so we had talked about, let's have a joke ready to submit to them for
Okay.
the text messaging submission. So I actually submitted the joke. She wanted to submit the joke that it was, and it was from Zootopia. So she
Okay.
wanted to submit the joke, and so it was not chosen. They had done that portion already, so it was not chosen. So she had her joke ready to go,
Ready to
and
go.
she got a big laugh out of it. I was so happy for her to do that. But anyways, then he told her a joke, and he told her a knock knock joke, and we always laugh with Madeline. Madeline just says the first thing off of her head sometimes, and just she's a leap before you look type person. And so he told her knock knock, and he goes knock knock, and she says, "What?" It's like and that's just her.
I bet that got some laughs too.
Yeah, and then she goes, "Who's there?" So he tells her that. Well, my husband was sitting beside her and holding our now 3-year-old Meredith in his lap watching the show, and I'm filming this. So I'm filming the screen, so I'm getting a good view of Madeline during this, and I'm hearing my daughter during this time going Meredith going, "That's not funny. It's not funny. Not funny." Like, every single time a joke is said during this segment, and I thought and that's Meredith for you, like, that is those are my
And it
girls.
sounds like
So
she had just had it at that point too. It wasn't
yeah,
not
not
funny.
funny. Not
Gotta do more
funny.
to
So
impress her.
yeah.
And you have
So
that recorded, so that's pretty fantastic.
yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So that definitely was Madeline's big special thing of the trip. I wish we could have coordinated that, but thank you, Disney, for working some magic for us to make the middle child feel special. But after that, my mom bought Meredith a bubble wine. So there are a few things that I realize as a parent that I just don't like anymore that are absolutely irrational for me not to like, and bubbles are one of them because when kids like bubbles, they want to play with bubbles everywhere, and you can't play with bubbles in the house, I'm sorry, and things like that. But anyways, at the parks, the bubble wines, they see them and they want them. Disney does a great job selling them because they're everywhere, and you see other kids with them. But she got one and the bubbles smelled like peppermint. So we are falling behind a peppermint scented bubble trail the entire day, pretty much until she ran out. But I had no idea that they sold peppermint scented bubbles.
I didn't
That was a
either.
little surprise. Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
cool.
So yeah, at this point, my mom really wanted to ride Tiana's. Splash Mountain was always one of our favorite rides. She had not been able to ride Tiana's yet, and, Jordan and Lincoln had not either, so they went on Tiana's while I took the girls over to Pecos Bills because I have been on it, and we just picked up kind of a light lunch for us there together, and so, after that, which they kind of agreed with what I've said about Tiana's, which is it has good bones because the ride is good. There's not a lot of story to it. You kinda get off the ride going, "What were we doing? Why were we there?" But afterwards, we went on Haunted Mansion because we didn't get to do it the other time
Uh-huh.
at the park. So, walked on to Haunted Mansion, went to Peter Pan. Peter Pan was our longest line for the day, which is typically is, but it was posted at a 20-minute, but we probably waited about 40 minutes there on that. After Peter Pan, we took the monorail over to Epcot because, well, we needed to enjoy the Food and Wine Festival, which was ending the next day. We saw Pluto immediately out in that character spot close to where Spaceship Earth is located and had to let Meredith go see Pluto once again. Got some
Uh-huh.
cute pictures with Pluto there. We rode on Spaceship Earth and then went over to the seas and to let Madeline ride, The Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Mhm.
Then, Glimmering Greenhouses, we did not miss that. Fortunately, that
Good.
was up. So,
Phew.
yes. Yeah, so, we rode over the land. If you have not been to Glimmering Greenhouses at Christmas time, it is very well worth it, very nice, but it was during the day. It's much more magical at night. And then we went to Soarin', and this was another one. Okay, are we gonna get her on Soarin' at 40 inches? Had no problem getting her on Soarin'. In fact, we got front middle of the screen too. Yes,
Excellent.
and I have to tell you this, so we were laughing. So over in the park next to us, there was a guy wearing Crocs, and, Jordan looked over and he had his shoes off. This is before the ride even started. He had his shoes off. He had his feet outside of his Crocs, on top of his Crocs, and my husband saw a sign that said, like, "If you have loose shoes, please take them off and leave them where you are." So he takes his shoes off, his perfectly fine tennis shoes off. As we're
He
riding
just
Soarin',
wanted
and
to
here is this
have free feet dangling,
I
or
guess
what was
so.
he
Here's
thinking
this
there?
grown man with his socks on riding Soarin',
Okay.
but we were laughing at it because I guess if you're sitting below any deck other than the top deck, you're gonna have feet in front of you,
Right,
and
you're
now
watching
you
the
have
feet fly,
bare
yes.
feet, yeah, or this man with his sock feet flying in front of you. So there you go. Sorry everybody for my husband's socked feet. Hope they didn't smell too bad, but
Hanging in your face, yes. How nice.
hanging in your face. Afterwards, Lincoln really wanted to go ride Test Track, which has had the longest line at Epcot for since it reopened, even rivaling Guardians at the time, but we knew that they could go and get on the single rider line a lot faster, so the boys went and did that while we took the girls on the Imagination, and then finally, we hit the festival. Uh,
Finally, I didn't think you were even gonna get
finally.
there all week.
Right? I didn't know either. My first stop was Simmering Sips, where I got the mimosa flight, so I know that's
Mhm.
one of your top items
It's a
there.
solid way to start. Yep.
Yes, and, I had Jordan while he was over in the test track area go to Gyoza's of the Galaxy. They had a street corn dumpling that I wanted to try, so he brought that over to me, and it was very good, if you like dumplings at all, but it was a street corn flavored one, and it was very good, very filling. I was very impressed with the portion sizes this year. I thought they did a good job with those. As we walked around, so we were heading over towards International Gateway because my mom took the older 2 kids to Beaches and Cream for dinner that night. So we kinda stopped at just 1 or 2 places along the way and then circled back around again. He went over to the Swiss booth over where Germany is located, and there was a ham and cheese dish there. I will tell you that area smelled awful from whatever cheese they use. So if that's your favorite kind
Ooh.
of cheese, I am terribly sorry to offend you. It smells bad.
It's
Uh,
stinky, stinky cheese, yep.
it was stinky cheese. So we were happy to get out of that area. And I let him enjoy that. As much as I love cheese, I was not about to eat stinky cheese. So my mom took the kids over onto Beaches and Cream while we went and circled back around World Showcase again. So we had the steak in Canada. We shared that. And then I wanted to go over to some of those booths kind of between Canada and Imagination. So I got the pumpkin ravioli there. It was good. It was one of my most anticipated dishes. It needed a little bit more flavor, maybe like a balsamic vinegar or something on top of it just to bring out some more. But they also had a butternut squash soup. It was not as good as Boma's, but it was still delicious.
Well, it's gonna have
And
corn.
yeah, I also did not have corn. There was
Secret
a
corn
trout
that
dish
doesn't
that I had heard
exist.
there's a trout dish that I had heard was really good. I was getting a little full, so did not finish that, but it was also good. We were standing at one of the tables over there, and there was a rabbit, a Disney rabbit, kind of bouncing around. And so Meredith was out of her stroller watching, and she saw it, and she looked at me dead in the eye. She says, "I'm gonna go touch it." And she
Oh,
ran
no.
off after this poor rabbit, and she tried. The rabbit got away, but, also I'm gonna go touch it. But I will say, at the booth where I got the trout, they had a spiced apple old fashioned inspired cocktail with rum,
That sounds
and I had my yes,
that sounds
I had my
delicious.
very first old fashioned
Okay,
for
and?
you in honor of
You're
you,
the
and it was very
sweetest.
good.
Okay. I love
It
that
was
you
very,
did
very good.
that.
Yeah, so I'd never had one before, so I got it, brought it back, Jordan tried it, he liked it so much, he ended up going back
Uh,
over there and getting another one, so we yeah, so
Suddenly
you may
your
have
family's
started
having
something.
old-fashioned
Yes.
drinks in the
So
house all
that
the
was
time
really good.
now.
So if you're there during the Food and Wine Festival in the future, Missy, and they have that one, I highly recommend it. It was really good. Um, it
I'll
was a good
remember that
sipping
for
drink
next
to have.
year when I plan a trip around the
Yeah.
Beach Boys schedule.
Okay.
We'll get down there for that, you and me. We'll make a
Yes.
plan for that.
So we enjoyed that. We walked around with that for a bit. The only other dish that I had was a noodle ball that they had in China. That was okay. It was a large portion, but it was pretty dry to eat. Not the best, I would say. Not what I would have wanted to end on, but I was pretty full at that point. We also got there's a mango drink at the India stand, and it's been there for several years. It almost kind of like a mango coconut milk kind of drink. And it's been very popular, but they have one you can get it with rum there too. So, I ordered that for Jordan, while he was actually I think he went to go get the old fashioned, so I got him that too. Uh,
Wow, so
and
you
he
tricked
liked
for
both
it.
of those,
Wow.
so yeah. So, but we needed to head back, and by the point we were in China, my mom had texted me that she and the other kids were back in the park, and we did have one more thing on our list that we wanted to accomplish at Epcot, and that was to get on Ratatouille. So Ratatouille had reopened without 3D by that point.
Yes, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was on our list. I wanted to hit it close to park closing because I knew that the lines would go down, so we did, and we went through the standby, which I think that was my first time ever in the standby line for Ratatouille, and it was outside, but it moved very, very quickly. I think we probably
Okay.
waited 15 minutes. And, but we rode it without the glasses. Meredith and my mom did not. Meredith was pretty tired and did not wanna get out of the stroller, so my mom just headed to the park entrance with her. Not a problem at all. So, we rode it without the glasses. It was so much better. You could tell the screen, it was not blurry, but it was not as crisp had the ride been done like that from the outset, I believe.
Intentionally from the start, right?
Yes,
Okay.
but not to the point where I felt motion sick or that I couldn't focus visually on anything, so I
Mhm.
liked it a lot better without the glasses, without having to fiddle with
Okay.
the glasses on, things like that. I didn't really notice any additional elements that were added into it, but it was a much more enjoyable experience, I will say.
Okay. I'm making a note of that too for my upcoming trip so I don't forget to
Yeah.
write it. Because it's
Yes, yeah.
so bad. It's always been so bad for me that I've kinda it's just not even included in my potential plans for a day. So I need to get it back
Yeah.
in the round. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the end of our day there at Epcot and the end of our time together. So, we went back to the resort and then did not have a very pleasant trip on the way home. My youngest daughter actually got sick the next morning and stayed sick for
That's
several days after that. But yeah. I was so thankful that we were not going or needed to or had park days up ahead at that point because we would have wasted those. I'm definitely not taking a sick child into the parks, but other overall, we had fantastic crowds the entire trip. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this, we did not purchase lightning lanes except for Guardians, and we did every big attraction except for Slinky Dog. So when you use your time wisely and use everything well, you can get a lot done, and had it not been for Child Swap, we would have gotten even more done too, so no regrets on any of that whatsoever. Excellent week to go, and excellent time that we had.
well, I am so happy that it went so well for you. I just love your little family and they're at such fun ages that I know I don't need to tell you it's difficult when you have height restrictions and
Mhm.
your son is what is he, 6 years older, more
He's
than 6 years
and
older
so
than the
yeah, he's
youngest.
6 years older than Meredith. So there's a 6 year age
Yeah.
gap between them.
So, I mean, from a 3-year-old girl to a 9-year-old boy, that's like a big difference in the type
Yeah,
of things that they can or want to do. So, and I think
absolutely.
that's the thing that we love so much about Disney. There's just so much there that they can do together. But it's fantastic that you were able to have grandparents there as well to help out with them and to create those memories. I'm sure grandma loved being able to experience that with the kids and take off a little time here and there with them to do different things. So, thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that with all of us, and I can't wait to hear next time what you guys plan. Okay, for today's top five, we are talking about which rides are best after sunset. So now that it's the time of year that it's getting darker earlier, there are some rides that could be considered best after dark, or even that you may just want to save for later in the days for other reasons. So, Rachel, why don't you get us started with your number five for the your rides that you suggest for after sunset?
So my number 5 is Tower of Terror, which, interestingly, the most of the attraction happens inside. But I think when those doors open and you see the lights of Hollywood Studios all lit up and the darkness adds to just the spooky feel that the ride is supposed to give you, I think it really takes on a very different tone and makes it more fun. So Tower of
Okay.
Terror would be my number 5.
That's a good one, and that wasn't on my list, but my number 5 is kind of similar in that it is a ride that takes place inside for most of it, but then at the end, you're outside, and that's Test Track. So, Test Track,
Oh,
the ride itself is inside, but I just think it's so fun when you're riding it in the evening after dark to when you blast outside and head around that track. I think it's a lot of fun to do that in the dark.
yeah, I don't know that I've ever done Test Track in the dark. So
So,
may
I
have to
mean,
try
that
that
side of the
sometime.
park does usually close a little bit earlier, so there's not a whole lot of time every year when it's gonna be open in the evening like that, it's not open as late as World Showcases, but it's fun. It's pretty cool, just,
Yeah.
it's like riding around in a convertible in the dark. Wow. It's that's actually what it is. Alright, what's your number 4?
So my number 4 is an outdoor attraction. There are some elements that go inside, but not like Test Track or Tower of Terror. But Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is my number
Mhm.
4. A roller coaster in the dark. It's a lot of fun, anyways. But just being able to see different aspects of the park and seeing parts of the ride lit up too at night, I really enjoy it.
Okay, so I kind of almost also had that for number 4, but
Okay.
I had to combine a few because yes,
Okay.
Big Thunder, but also Tiana's and also Mine Train. I feel like all of those are very similar, and if you ride them during the fireworks, you may get some pretty cool views in the sky. Of
Yeah, that's true.
and there are a few areas of Tiana's that are outside that would be, especially if you're coming down the drop and see fireworks, right? But Mine Train and Big Thunder are very fun after dark also. So I kind of group them all together. It may be cheating, but that's my number 4. How about your number 3?
But number 3 for me is Astro Orbiter. In fact, I think Astro Orbiter, the only way to experience this attraction is at night, even though I did ride it during the day during our trip. But nighttime, this ride really just completely transforms. And the lights on it, the lights on the vehicles of the ride, the whole part of it just lit up. I
Mhm.
love riding Astro Orbiter at night.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. So I kind of tripled up on my number 4, but now my number
Okay.
3 is actually not even a ride. So I don't even know. I don't know what I'm doing with this list. Anyway, my number 3 I have listed as Pandora. So when Pandora was first being constructed, we were hearing all about the bioluminescence and how cool it was going to be at night, and it is. But now the park just doesn't really stay open late very often. So most times of the year, the sun is still up when the park is closing. So it's at this point of the year, 5 o'clock close. You may be able to have some darkness there, 5, 6 o'clock, with the sunset and closing happening pretty close in time. So it's not necessarily in a ride, but that whole area of the park just looks so cool at night. I'm sad that the whole nighttime show there didn't work out because I really think it did
Right.
have some great potential there. And I hope that we see something in the future to keep people in that park. But the Pandora area, I think, is just absolutely worth seeing after dark. And I think so many people, if they're not doing Lightning Lane for it, will rope drop it and plan on being in the park first thing of the day. So maybe may not
Mhm.
be there later on and might miss the experience of seeing it after dark. So that's my number 3.
Well, I will say before I get to my number 2, I almost put Flight of Passage on my list just because of walking out to Pandora at night.
Right.
So
Okay.
I see exactly where you're going with that. So I almost did the same thing, putting the attraction on there because it really is very special at night. Animal Kingdom is one of my favorite parks to close out because it empties out. Usually about 4 o'clock it empties out, but it's very special at night. So, but my number 2 does take place inside Animal Kingdom, and
Oh,
that is Expedition Everest.
okay. I hadn't
So,
thought of that,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, I love riding Expedition Everest at night. Having the long climb up the first hill at night, and you can see so much of the park. And if the Tree of Life is lit up, you get to see that from there too. But you get to see a whole lot. And then going through the mountains and mountainside and everything like that in the dark, it is really, really fun. It's not as well lit as some of the other nighttime attractions would be. So
Mhm.
you definitely get a roller coaster in the dark.
Okay. That's a good one. Good one. So, my number 2 is something you actually touched on a little bit during your trip report when we were talking, and it is living with the land, specifically at Christmas time for the glimmering greenhouses, because that is just so fun. I am a sucker for Christmas lights wherever they are. I even love to just go riding around at home and see different lights that people have decorated their homes with because I just love lights. I think it's really special that they do that. It's something they don't have to do. There's no reason to do it, other
Mhm.
than for guest entertainment. So I love that we get special little things like that at the holidays to see there. So that's my number 2.
That is a great one, and I didn't even think about it, and because I thought we'd go through the parks, I was like, everything at Epcot's inside, so I didn't even consider Epcot. But I do wonder, our number 1 might be the same because there's a fun attraction at night that we have not touched on.
I
Is
don't
it the People
know.
Mover?
It's not. It's not. It could be. I
Really? Okay,
almost
so my
always
number
ride the
1.
people mover and but no, so mine is actually my number 1 is the Haunted Mansion. Now, of course, you're only inside the actual ride, but there's just something extra special about riding it at night when you're in darkness as you approach the mansion and go through that queue area, particularly at Halloween during the parties when they have some more interaction going on there with some characters around. But all year, I would say if you ride that ride after dark, being able to experience the area around the mansion after sunset is, I think, the coolest way to do it. But now
That's
you've
great
spoiled
too,
what
so
yours is.
I
Now I know what yours
Oh,
is.
yes. So my number 1 is the People Mover, which is so much fun at night because you're going in and out of buildings and seeing everything, and when you see the castle start to light up, it really and the parts of Tomorrowland light up, you get such a good view of so many different parts of the park and the beautiful lights. The parks are amazing at night. Please don't leave the parks before dark because just the lighting, the theming, Disney has done such a great job with everything there, and so People Mover, it's just a lot of fun to be on at night. I don't know why it makes it more fun, but it does. It really does.
It's really fun any time of day, but yes, I'm there with you.
Yeah.
I agree on it at night. And I think for as many times as I've been on it, which are countless at this point, I don't have any idea how many times I may have been on the People Mover. We do it every trip, probably more than once each trip. Any day I'm in the Magic Kingdom for sure. I always find myself scrambling to hurry up and get my phone out because I put it away when I get on a ride, but then it's like, oh, the castle. Look how good the castle looks. I need to get a picture of the castle.
Yeah.
And especially at night. And that, not that you can't get a picture of the castle from a million other places in the park, but when it all of a sudden is there when you're on the People Mover, it's just like an extra pop with that. So I appreciate it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that was a good number 1. That was a fun list. And we have a lot of
It
different
was.
things. So I love it when we have some varying answers for that. Very cool.
So, our question of the week comes from, I'm sure, as many of you are, coffee lovers out there. And this question is, can I use my Starbucks gift card inside of the park? So, each park does have their own Starbucks location. And it's a great question. Can I use my Starbucks gift card there inside of the park? So, Missy, will you take this one for us?
Right, and I think this is a good question because this time of year you may be getting gifts from people and a Starbucks gift card seems to be a pretty common gift that people give to maybe acquaintances or people that they know who help them out with different services through the year or that type of thing. So, if you have a Starbucks gift card, yes, you can use it at Walt Disney World. So, all 4 of the theme parks at Disney World do have a Starbucks location where you can use a Starbucks gift card, as well as I believe they have 2 locations at Disney Springs. So you can feel free to bring that card along with you or use it through the app, certainly is probably the preferred way. Just keep it handy in your phone. And you could use that. Now, you cannot use your Starbucks rewards for free drinks within the theme park, but you can use gift cards. So, and I don't know if you earn points on them for sure. I don't think you do.
I don't know
I
either.
don't think the rewards thing comes into play. So maybe that's what our listener had heard when they weren't sure if gift cards were acceptable. You absolutely can use a gift card while you're there in the parks from Starbucks. So, a great question. If you have a question for us, we would love to hear it and we'll do our best to try to answer it. So, you can email us at a Disney Life at storybookdestinations.com or podcast at storybookdestinations.com. You can also catch up with us on social media. We have a Facebook group, a Disney Life. We also are a Disney Life pod on Instagram and TikTok. So you could reach us through those various channels as well. And we would love to hear from you. We love hearing from and chatting with our listeners. And I guess I will wrap things up now with our tip of the week. So it actually kind of sparked in my mind as Rachel was talking about her first day and being at Hollywood Studios. And one thing that I have, I guess, learned maybe the hard way is if you're planning on riding some thrill rides first thing in the day, I'm thinking particularly in this case a rock and roller coaster in Tower of Terror. You may not want to have a big breakfast before you leave your hotel. I know I don't, but I love being able to sit and have a relaxing breakfast on Sunset Boulevard at their quick service locations after I ride the big rides. So rather than spending time to eat before you leave your hotel, wait until you arrive at the park. Do those two big rides. And then they even have Mickey waffles there. You know, a lot of times the breakfast options in the park are not great and not plentiful if you're not eating at a table service location. But I love that Hollywood Studios has Mickey waffles there available. There's plenty of seating to sit. We actually were there last January for a trip and we stayed at a Disney hotel. We were at Beach Club. We walked ourselves over there that morning for early entry for resort guests, and we rode Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror before the regular park opening. And we're sitting and having Mickey waffles for breakfast while people were still lining up for like the regular entry for the day where there's this long line by us. My kids are like, what are they waiting for? I said, they still aren't technically even in the park yet. So that's my
Yeah.
tip is hold off, get those big rides out of the way if you're somebody who has some motion sickness issues like I do. And then get yourself some Mickey waffles there on Sunset Boulevard. And it's a great way to start out your day. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We're always happy to be chatting with you and having you along with us. And again, if you have any questions for us or if you're interested in being a guest here, if you're interested in being a guest is what I'm trying to say, you could reach out to us for that as well. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.
Hi.